Anybody I catch on the wall talking, you just go ahead and leave, okay? Because we got a busy little. Where is everybody? There's supposed to have been 30 bills or so presented this morning. Yeah, Miss Penny's got 3. Y'all ought to read some of the text messages I get. Let's see who's laughing about them over there. Okay. Chairman Hawkins, would you open us with prayer, please, sir? Turn your button on.
Please bow your heads. God, Father, we come to you today asking for your advice, your wisdom, and help in bringing us to the right decisions for all citizens of Georgia. We ask this for your grace. We ask this for all Georgians. Amen.
Now those on the wall, I'm not as mean as what I just sounded like. I will not send you out of the room. Just a little more subtle, and then I'll just go do like that. Okay. Miss Penny, all chairmen, please come to the front. All committee chairs, come to the front of the line, please. We don't get many perks, but that's one of them. Miss Penny, you're on first. Now, what? Explain to me before we get started. What's this railroad thing that I got to?
I sent the chairman a text this morning, and my cell phone doesn't understand South Georgian. And so I said that I was going to have 3 bills before rules, and I didn't read it over, and after I hit send, it said railroads instead of rules. And so I had to explain that I know a lot of people get railroaded in here.
Okay, we're losing control here. All right, Miss Penny, what's your bill numbers?
House Bill 1219.
Okay, second page. Okay.
And you have the right LC number, 9012S. House Bill 1219 changes the number of members on the Georgia Board of Dentistry from 11 to 17. This will include 13 dentists, 1 member not a dentist or hygienist, 1 member appointed by the Board of Regents with direct knowledge of education of dental students, and 2 hygienists.
Okay. I see no. Okay, who's down there? Oh, Chair Lady.
My train just arrived from the correct railroad tracks. But anyway, thank you, Representative Houston, Chairman Houston, for this bill. And I see that you did add another hygienist to the board. I'm sure you, as all of us, have heard that it's very important to them that they have a voice as well. So thank you for doing that. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, ma'am. All right, what's your next bill?
Next bill is House Bill 1186. It changes the age that a professional who is not a licensed audiologist can perform a non-diagnostic hearing screen on persons up to 22 years of age. This bill was proposed by the Georgia Educational Audiologist Advisory Committee, and I have a letter of support from the Department of Public Health and the Georgia Academy of Audiologists.
See no questions. What's your third bill?
My third bill is very nonpartisan bill. All my bills are nonpartisan. My bill, it simply codifies.
What's the number?
Oh, I'm sorry.
1307?
1307, okay. This bill simply codifies that existing PSC training should include to call 911 when your excavator is digging and he hits a gas line or a hazardous waste material line. And this is brought about, the federal government wants us to put this in law. The auditors do, or else we'll lose some points on our auditing if we don't have it codified in law. We did this last year in a bill, and it got hung up in the Senate, an existing bill, so the PSC's asked this to be a standalone bill.
Okay. See no questions. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Ms. Taylor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Today I bring you House Bill 1288. It's on page 2, fifth from the bottom. I'm working off of LC 432286S. This is a bill that has an effect on our retired death benefit. For some reason, they had never allowed an assignment of benefit to go to the funeral homes. And what's happened is we've had a lot of funeral homes not being paid. So this bill will allow the plan to accept an assignment from a funeral home. They'll have to have appropriate documentation. And yes, Patty Bentley has endorsed this bill.
Is she going to invoke the choker's rule? Okay, I see no questions.
Thank
you,
you.
ma'am. Yes, sir. Hey, he was in my office earlier this morning. What you got, 1294?
That's a good thing, though, right? On second page, House Bill 1294, 4 from the bottom, under modified structured. House Bill 1294.
Oh, hold on. Okay, go ahead.
Working off of LC 393220. You got that one. Anyway, all we're doing here is allowing a local government agency 3 days in which to post a notice. Once a mobile home has been deemed derelict, it gives them 3 days to post the notice. Before, we had to do it the same day, which they were having issues being able to do that. So they just request 3 days to be able to post that notice.
Okay. Don't see any questions.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you for favorable consideration.
Yes, sir. Come on up.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Second page, structured rule, second up from the bottom, HB 1064 is a bill that would exempt up to $17,500 of military retirement income from state income tax. An additional $17,500 would be exempted if an individual works in this state in another job and earns at least that amount, to provide a total of $35,000 tax exemption for individuals who have retired from a lifetime career military service. And the sponsor's okay, Mr. Chairman, but the second sponsor on this measure is a legend in this building.
I don't like to have to put on hip boots, and that's what I'm thinking I'm going to have to do. Okay, no questions. Thank you, sir. Yeah, at least it's on man. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and committee members. I've got 2 bills today. The first one is under modified structure on the second page at the very bottom, House Bill 1321. And what this bill is a litigation bar on opioid litigation. And what it does is it doesn't allow political subdivisions of the state of Georgia to litigate any more opioid. Any more opioid cases. There is a nationwide settlement agreement that 98% of our state has entered into. As part of that settlement agreement, this litigation is to be passed, and what it does is it brings another $150 million into the settlement agreement. I've got GMA, ACCG, they're in agreement with this, and that's what the bill does, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Williams. You are now.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. To the author bill, it makes sense, but why the specific amount of $150 million? Is this being held in reserve of potential litigation from these local governments? What?
As part of the settlement agreement, there is $445 million coming to the state. If we pass a litigation bar, we get another $150 million. That was as part of the negotiations. We pass the litigation bar. The folks that are paying out will say, if we pass this litigation bar, no more political subdivision can sue, so we'll pay another $150 million.
We can talk offline, but I'm assuming that 150 means that they were reserving that in case they had to fight other fights, and they're going to give it to
That
us
is
up
true.
front.
That is true. Yes.
Thank you.
Mr. Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Are there other municipalities or counties that are contemplating filing litigation? If so, about how many?
Out of what I'm told is there are two that have not entered into the settlement agreement with us. We revised the language so that one of those, this doesn't impact one of those litigants. The other one is not taking part. They're taking part in a piece of litigation up north. They're a party to another suit. Did I answer your question?
It does.
Okay, Mr. Wilkerson?
Thank you. I guess to follow up on that question, can you tell us who those are? Just, you know, those two that are not participating?
Wayne County Hospital and then Cobb County are the two that are not joining in.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
All right, my second bill is House Bill 500. It is on the third page under the structured rule. This is the GARJA program, and what this program does is allows businesses to borrow when they've been turned down by a community bank. This piece of legislation was passed back in 2018, I believe, by my predecessor, Jason Shaw, and this allows for businesses that are, like I said, turned down from lending from a traditional institution to be able to borrow from a third party. This allows for $60 million worth of tax credits to those private equity firms to inject that money into rural Georgia. This is for agricultural businesses in rural Georgia.
Don't see any questions. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Come on up, Judge.
Morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. I have House Bill 1088. It's on page 2, the second one down from the top. Simple bill to change timeshare foreclosures from judicial to non-judicial. This is at the request of the timeshare businesses in Georgia, and the real estate attorneys are okay with it, and the bankers are okay with it as well. We put some language in there for them.
See no questions. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Come on up, Gator.
Thank you, fellow Gator. Mr. Chairman, I'm here to speak about the substitute to HB 389 underneath Modified Structure Rule LC 365153S. We are revisiting rules with this. The two primary changes since our last visit were we removed the potentially ambiguous language around the pre-qualification of a 1099, and then we also added in express carve-out for what many consider the gig economy.
No questions.
Thank you.
Do we have a committee chair back here in the back?
Thanks, sir. Mr. Chairman, number 5 on the front page is House Bill 397. This is a bill 2 years in the making. It's pretty complicated. It's to try to close a loophole in workers' comp where workers are not being covered. These cases are being adjudicated through the court system, so this codifies what the judges have ruled, and we think it is the solution.
Got a question for you.
Okay.
Let's say that I have a small business and I hire one of these PEOs to do all the HR work. Okay. Then I hire, because of my business, I hire a subcontractor to do a particular outside project, and they're all part of this PEO once we get it all set up.
They would be liable for that, and,
Okay.
and one of the problems is picking up workers, say at a Lowe's or
That's what I'm referring to.
Yeah.
Who is responsible for paying the workers' comp if that worker that you picked up at Lowe's that you're paying cash for gets injured?
It goes up the chain from the person who's in control.
So it goes up from the subcontractor, then up to the PEO, right?
That is correct.
Okay, so subcontract is first. Okay. All right. Mr. Williamson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We can take this offline in a minute. For what I hear, I support what you're trying to do, but really what are we fixing then? Because the work comp policy flows all the way down to Well, the injured employee typically on the job is, if in the example of a subcontractor hires a day worker gets hurt, subcontractor does not have workers' comp, and he's doing, I don't know, stocking shelves overnight when there's doing inventory turnover. He's not on the PEO coverage, but that sub doesn't have coverage. Does the PEO coverage pick it up?
Yes, the PEO has become liable, and some have argued this may not be the fair way to do it, but the problem exists that people are playing games within the system, and they may have a workers' comp certificate that's covering just office workers. Well, the office workers are not the one that's getting hurt, but that's the one that's lowering your workers' comp rate. And so we're saying if you're going to offer workers' comp, you're going to be liable for complete coverage. So we're hoping this is going to change the sales process and keep both sides honest, because right now both sides are blaming the other as to who is withholding information about uncovered workers.
Thank you. It sounds like a great bill, but I'd love to ask you a few more questions.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, and it's way above my pay grade. I last year formed an ad hoc committee, and I put 8 different industry players on there and locked them in a room and came up with something. And of course, everybody except the POs are for this, but it follows the decision of the courts.
Okay. No more questions. Thanks, sir.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have on the third page HB 1034 under structured rule, LC 500292. This simply adds FIFA World Cup soccer matches to a list of major non-reoccurring events that we offer an incentive on the sales tax on their tickets only. It would also extend the sunset of this provision, which was originally adopted in 2016. It would run it out till 2031.
Chairman Knight.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. To the gentleman, thank you for your clarification. I know in the committee you said something about FIFA and football, and I appreciate you clarifying that this was soccer and not football. Thank you.
Okay. That's all the questions. Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I am presenting HB 839 under modified structure rule on the first page. This bill is to incorporate the city of Mableton. Most people believe that the city of Mableton is already a city. I am working off LC 471631S, which was passed out of committee unanimously. This would be able to help the citizens to bring them closer to their local government. We did a feasibility study by the University of Georgia's Carl Vinson Institute that said that we would be in the black about $3.2 million. Thank you.
Chairman Sessler.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. To the lady, I appreciate you bringing this bill. I was co-sponsor for it. And I just appreciate your sensitivity to folks. You know, in unincorporated Cobb County, folks have about a 200,000 to 1 representation of people to elected officials, and I think your sensitivity is right on point, and I appreciate your leadership on this.
Thank you.
No more questions. Thank you, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. I bring to you today HB 1188. It is on page 2 of the blue sheet. It is a governor's initiative. It was brought to our attention by our GBI, Crimes Against Children Unit. It clarifies language and code so that each pornographic image or material in each area of the child that is sexually touched during child molestation acts can be charged separately. Prior to 2018, this is how these cases were managed. But in 2018, there was a Supreme Court judgment that decided that the word any would combine all of the touching and the images, meaning that if there were 1 or 10,000 images, they would be charged as one offense. This just clarifies the language now so that each is clear.
Don't see any questions. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Presenting HB 974, it's the first page, lower third. And this bill requires that clerks accept the e-filing of real estate documents. These documents are deeds, mortgages, liens, maps, and plats. Also creates a standardized page 1 that includes essential data needed for filing by the clerk. Real estate e-file system is a mature system already managed by the Clerk's Authority, and this was brought to me by the Clerk's Authority.
Okay. Chairman Stevens.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. To the member, I had a call over the weekend from a closing attorney that and a financial planner more than anything else that really had some issues with not having the person in front of them and maybe under duress, if you will. For example, having her dog or something in the corner that you can't see in front of a screen with a knife to his throat or something. Can you address some of that?
Sure, it's been changed. So if you look at line 53 and 54, provided, however, that the Office of the Clerk of Superior Court shall accept original paper filings for recordation by delivery in person. And so it's not a mandatory e-file that everyone has to e-file. It's a mandatory e-file, and that the clerks all have to accept e-filing.
Just to follow up, what about these potential titles that seem to be a tidal wave of those things going through different LLCs? Would this perpetuate that problem?
I don't think so, because it's just you're filing your documents online. The clerk still has to review it. I don't think this is going to. I don't know how it will affect the LLCs, to be honest with you, but I don't believe so.
Chairman Illustration.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. To the sponsor, isn't it true that this would really replace the mailing in of these documents with e-filing? The ultimate impact would be that in-person filing would still be available, but rather than mailing in, you would just file them through the state's e-filing system.
That's correct.
Thank you.
Thank you for the question. And just to note, there are terminals at the clerk's office as well for them to e-file, so if they don't have a computer or broadband, they can go to the office, to the clerk's office, and also file there, or hand it to the clerk.
Okay. No more questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Good morning. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. I'm looking at House Bill 1059, which is on your page 2 at the very top, and I'm working off of LC 520095S. This bill was actually in rules a week or two ago and scheduled for the floor. We found something in the previous version that there were a lot of questions on related to charitable contributions, so it went back to committee. We took the charitable contributions part out, and now all this bill deals with is allowing insurers and agents to offer loss mitigation products, water leak detectors, smoke detectors, things like that in the sale of insurance.
No questions. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. The bill I bring to you today is HB 1324, which is at the top of the third page in the rules calendar, working off of LC 520097S. This bill simply states that if someone goes to the emergency room as a prudent layperson, someone with average medical information to take care of themselves, goes to the emergency room believing they are having a medical emergency, only to find out the outcome's different. For whatever reason, the diagnosis is not an emergency. Their insurance company would be required to pay because they did believe they had a medical emergency. This bill did pass the Senate as SB 82 in 2001. It also passed our Rules Committee at that point in time. Since then, there have been some changes. Instead of medical, it's now physical and mental. And we also added Section 8, which defines emergency care and services.
See no questions. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Mr. Leverett, could you come up to, I think you have one that you need to present. So, but go ahead. He's on the end of the line now, so.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, committee. This bill is HB 1215, as submitted by substitute from the House Committee on Education. The bill does four things. It refines the state charter school definition. It prevents local districts from prohibiting students from transferring to charter schools during the school year. It addresses a loophole in the local charter funding calculation, and it incorporates a request from the state auditor's office to repeal a requirement related to virtual school performance audits. I think really the meat and potatoes of this bill is the fact that right now, if you want to transfer from a charter school to a local school district, that's allowable to be done in the middle of the school year. Now what this does is it allows the converse to be true, to where if an opening happens in the local charter school, that someone can transfer from the public school to the charter school and not have to wait to the end of the school year. So it just mirrors what's already in law the other direction. It's supported. I have not been contacted by any opposition. I can tell you that parents that want to transfer their child to a charter school system is highly, highly in support of this bill. That's all.
See no questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. I'm working off of House Bill 1217, which is on the second page, and it is LC 490843S. And it is the Student Technology Protection Act. What it does is state-owned equipment such as servers and handheld devices. It protects them by requiring the filtering and the firewalls from obscene and harmful content to students. It also allows for monitoring of off-task behavior of our students using that technology that is owned by the state. And those are the important parts of this one, Mr. Chairman.
See no questions. Thank you, sir. Yes, sir. Mr. Crow.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. I've got House Bill 1194, which is about a third of the way down on page 2. This is a Department of Public Safety Department bill for the Motor Carrier Compliance Division. All it's doing is updating the definition of present regulations for commercial motor carriers, or commercial motor vehicles and motor carriers, to reflect those that are in force and effect January 1st, 2022. So it's changing the year from 2021 to 2022.
See no questions. Thank you, sir.
Okay. I also have a second one, sir.
Okay, go ahead.
It's House Bill 896. That is under the structured rule on page 3, the second one. This is a bit of a unique bill. So it's a tax exemption bill, and what it does is it allows specifically those residents on Jackson Lake in Butts County who occupy Georgia Power leasehold properties to claim homestead exemption by having a population bracket, which is for Butts County, and it has to be updated every 10 years to reflect the new numbers from the most current census. This bill was passed in 2012 by my predecessor, and Chairman Knight also was a co-sponsor of it at the time, and so all we're doing is updating those numbers to reflect the populations from the 2020 census.
See no questions. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
I think you got 1361, Mr. Leverett.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, that's correct. House Bill 1361. It's a fairly short bill, unlike most of the ones I seem to associate myself with. And it just simply amends a code section that was enacted, I believe, when my father worked for the Attorney General, Gene Cook, back in the 50s. Alfred Evans, who was a member of the Attorney General's office, was frustrated that state agencies could get sued, and frequently the AG's office didn't find out about it until they were in default. So they passed a statute that requires that if you are suing an agency or department or any instrumentality of the estate seeking to declare something unconstitutional, you must notify the Attorney General's office. And the Attorney General has the right to appear in that case and present a defense. This just cleans that statute up a little bit, makes it clear that the Attorney General has discretion to appear or not appear, and makes it clear that it applies to declaratory judgments and other kinds of actions too.
Okay, see no questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, before I forget, Chair Lady Smith, reminded me, as did my administrative assistant back there, that today is 2/22/22. February 22nd day, 22nd year. Okay. I'm back in heaven now, I think. Okay. Do I hear a motion to recommit 1295 to education? Now to move in a second, all in favor say aye. All opposed, like sign. It was on the yellow sheets. Okay, do I hear a motion to recommit 1131 back to committee? To move in a second, all in favor say aye. All opposed, like sign. It's been sent back. Now, 1295 is on the yellow sheet. Okay, I guess it's time to set the calendar. Oh, does anybody, sorry about that. Chairman Hawkins.
Do we have an opportunity to ask for a bill that we have as a member?
Yeah, as a member, you sure do.
Thank you. On the second page, 3/4 of the way down, House Bill 1276. This is a disclosure transparency bill. You know, for years we've been trying to see what the contracts look like and that type of thing with state health benefit and especially with Medicaid. And we've had difficulty in doing that primarily because of contractual agreements and trade secrets and whatever. So this bill calls for that information, the data, to be published on the DCH website, and it includes very important data, where the providers are in this state, regionally. Also, it's per cost per member for LIM and ABD. A number of pieces of information here that will be biannually updated. I worked with Jesse Wellington on this for actually a couple of years. It'll help us make better decisions in the future on Medicaid.
Mr. Stevens, you have a question or, okay, you got a bill you want to present? Okay, no more questions. Thank you, sir. George.
Mr. Chairman, I just wanted to ask that so that I can get with the author, hold House Bill 974 till I could, for one day, till I can speak with the author.
Okay. All right, okay. Who else has?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I present before you House Bill 1346. It's a very simple bill. Actually, my daughter is an attorney. She works as the Chief Superior Court Clerk in Cherokee County, and she would like to join the JAG Corps. However, there is a provision in law that prohibits clerks of court from practicing law. This is just a very small carve-out to allow clerks of court who wish to serve may serve in JAG Corps, which are Judge Advocate Generals. They're the attorneys for the military. It also, there was a small change whenever it went through the committee process, and we added the Space Force as one of our branches of the military.
Any questions? Raise your hand. Okay, Chairman Knight.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Two things. One bill is House Bill 1320. That is our annual IRC conformity bill. We went through Ways and Means and is out. This is probably the smallest conformity bill that I've seen in the many years I've been presenting and carrying this legislation. And we'd humbly request to go ahead and get that through, as you know, so that we can codify the confirmation so that the tax returns may be filed correctly and timely. Even though there's a small amount of changes, it's still important to go ahead and get this through the legislature as we've seen in the past. That is 1320. Any questions?
I see no questions on 1320.
And then if I may, Mr. Chairman, what I'd like to also maybe put a name by or ask for is HB 1088. I think Representative Gunter had request or presented that. Just put my name behind as a support for that bill.
Okay. Peter Beverly.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have a quick question on the, there was a House Bill 585 that was on our rules consideration calendar, which is now on the House General calendar, the yellow sheet. Just want to understand what the move from the rules consideration calendar was to the general calendar.
Any bill that does not make it to the House floor after 3 days can be put back on the general calendar.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Anybody else got anything good for the order before I get started? Okay. Just for FYI, we will set a supplemental calendar for today. House Bill 1361 on the third page. Do I hear a move? Got a move and a second. All in favor say aye. All opposed, like sign. It's on. Under structured rule, House Bill 500. Do I hear a move? I move and a second. All in favor say aye. All opposed, like sign. It's on. Okay. Let's go to Thursday. Anybody know what Thursday is, other than Thursday? Thursday's day 20. Day 20. And yes, it will be the day we go home. I heard that up here too. Okay. All right, let's see. Under modified structured, House Bill 389, do I hear a move? Got a move and a second. All in favor say aye. All opposed, like sign. It's on. Okay, now remember, this is for Thursday. House Bill 1008, do I hear a move? Got a move and a second. All in favor say aye. All opposed, like sign. House Bill 1059, do I hear a move? It's on the second page. Got a move and a second. All in favor say aye. All opposed, like sign. House Bill 1088, do I hear a move? Got a move and a second. All in favor say aye. All opposed, like sign. It's on. House Bill 1186, do I hear a move? Got a move and a second. All in favor say aye. All opposed, like sign. It's on. House Bill 1215, do I hear a move? Got a move and a second. All in favor say aye. All opposed, like sign. It's on. House Bill 1217, do I hear a move? Got a move and a second. All in favor say aye. All opposed, like sign. Must have been a long week in. Okay, House Bill 1233, do I hear a move? Got a move and a second. All in favor say aye. All opposed, like sign. It's on. House Bill 1276, do I hear a move? Got a move and a second. All in favor say aye. All opposed, like sign. It's on. House Bill 1307, do I hear a move? Got a move and a second. All in favor say aye. All opposed, like sign. It's on. House Bill 1321, do I hear a move? Got a move and a second. All in favor say aye. All opposed, like sign. Third page, structured. House Bill 896, do I hear a move? Got a move and a second. All in favor say aye. All opposed, like sign. House Bill 1320, do I hear a move? Got a move and a second. All in favor say aye. All opposed, like sign. All right, let's go over those again. For supplemental today, 1361, under modified structure and under structured, 500. Under structured for Thursday, 1320, 896, 1321, 1307, 1276, 1233, 1217, 1215, 1186, 1088, 1059, 1008, and 389. That's the calendar for supplemental for today. Okay. Anyone else got anything? Meeting's adjourned. Thank y'all.